Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the stream. As you can see right now, I have improved the sound quality a little bit. So if you watch my previous streams, the sound was a little bit lower. So also check your own, like you can lower the sound if you want. But from now on, I will use this handle for this arm for a microphone. It will be way better. I underestimated like how important this is actually it for the streaming. So yeah, this is one of the things what I gonna be using from now on for sure. All right, I can see more and more are you joining. That's really good. Okay, let me quickly check the Twitch chat. I will check because I think it's not showing again. Okay, and we're gonna start really soon. Can you say, chat, can you say if the sound quality is far better right now? Let me know. All right, cool. That's cool. Let's see. For the chat, I'm actually using the Botrix. This way I can see the both chats from Twitch and from other platforms where I stream simultaneously, but I guess I need to refresh it or something because sometimes the chat could disappear, so it's kind of crazy. Chatbot, where the heck? Where the heck you check the chatbot? English, yes. I don't know. Twitch. I want the stream to have a chat, but once again, something is not really working as intended. Like this is the alerts. No, I need a chat. Let me check. Okay, either case we can still stream without the chat, but I guess that could be even better. Still, I gonna respond to the chat. No worries then. So we gonna still continue. We still gonna continue on Beyond XSS series. But before that, I just want to say that I had a lot of stress this weekend because, well, actually because of a Katana tool. You probably know this is the crawler by Project Discovery. And I cannot really blame the tool, but I got really stressful weekend because of that. And let me quickly show why. Probably some of you already seen my post on X, but basically this was just original post what I posted, but actually I right now removed that post. I just took the screenshot, just want to say like what really happened. So Katana by Project Discovery just fried my CPU. Nice. I thought that was like the tool. Yeah, the tool itself actually uses a lot of CPU power, and weirdly it's not using RAM but just CPU, so that's pretty weird because other crawlers like GoSpider, HackRoll, other crawlers in Bug Bounty, they do not use that much CPU power, and this one is crazy. Like it's go 100% pretty quickly if you like use multiple threads. So I put way too much threads and the cooling system had a lot of problem. And what I got blue screen of death on Windows, even though like tool itself was running on the subsystem. on Linux, and after getting blue screen, my PC have turned off. And after turning it off, I tried, okay, let's restart. I clicked the button like crazy. So like this was just a video. I'm just panicking and trying to like enable my computer. And yeah, some people were asking what happened, basically like this. So I was just using headless mode, running a lot of threads, using regex as well. Regex also consumes a little bit of CPU, and JS analysis also very CPU intensive task. So I was running multiple katanas, scanning one target. I won't say which program, but it was really wide scope. And basically my CPU haven't handled this. It got like high temperature and PC have turned off. So I went to the PC maintenance guy. I looked over like which like computer repair guys were working at the time, because it was a weekend, it was Saturday. So during the Saturdays or like in weekends, rarely some companies work, but I just wanted to fix this before the weekend. And like I shown you the CPU parts because I assembled my CPU myself. So that was like the first mistake, like assembling myself. But it was using Intel i9, like this version, and it seems that Intel 13 or 14 generation Intel processors are extremely shitty ones, and right now the Intel is going bankrupt. So yeah, they're going bankrupt for a reason, because those are failing extremely. When you're running CPUs at full capacity, they can like get crazy big temperatures, and usually the like Intel blames the motherboard manufacturers for not like configuring it normally to work with their CPUs. And motherboard manufacturers say like, no, it's your fault. It's actually on like you had made mistake in your processor and you are just scamming your customer. So basically, as far as I understood, Intel is extremely bad right now. So I made mistake like choosing Intel for sure. I should have chosen AMD, and I can like show you the IDA software. Right now I configured my BIOS settings to not like to run CPU at certain limit to not get like a high temperature, and for my CPU not to get like fried again like crazy. So this is like IDA Extreme software where you can like check the CPU temperature for like different cores. As you can see right now, it's almost idle, but I'm also streaming, so it's like 40 degrees around, 30 degrees. 80 degrees is at the highest load, should be around 80 degrees. It's pretty normal. But when I actually run the test, this is like the test where you can like check the stress. This tool will run like CPU like crazy. If I start it real quick, you can see how much temperature changes like crazy. Right now it's going normal as I'm like running the test, but previously what it was like in 1 or 2 seconds it was reaching 100 degrees. So it was extremely bad. So even with the best cooling system, I got a lot of difficulty. So I got pretty decent CPU, but it was shitty because of the temperature problem. So if you have that Intel CPU, make sure to update your BIOS and make sure to check like recommendations from Intel, which type of things you should set up in your BIOS, because you're gonna have the same problem as me. Yeah, so that was really stressful weekend. And another thing, IT maintenance guy, even though he said like what could be like common problems, he like did troubleshooting, but actually he also tried to scam me. like crazy. Like he tried to convince that I need to like put the extra fans. Maybe I need to change the like thermal paste, and he said like he will use the best thermal paste like ever. And I asked him how much it's gonna cost. He said like 90 bucks. So I said what the hell. And he also, another red flag that I saw, he also said like I usually get paid for the hourly, not for the work done. So that was actually another red flag. So he did the troubleshooting, he updated the BIOS, but I said, okay, just don't do anything more. I just want my PC back. So I got my PC back and I did everything else myself. Yeah, because I hate the guys who are actually try to, I don't know, rip you off a little. So I'm pretty sure it's not the best what I did, but still, I hate to be ripped off. All right, so I see more and more people are joining. That's really cool. Oh, sveikas. All right, I see some of you might want to see which extensions I do use. Yeah, on some of my streams I already shown the extensions what I already use. I might create a YouTube video about extensions what you should use, so I guess that's gonna be a good topic as well, because there are a lot of, and yeah, I guess I gonna do a video for that. But like quickly I can show you for sure if you are very curious about that. This is like, this extension is for password manager. I just use 1Password. It's like fills your password, use secure password. This is Foxy Prox. You probably already know what it is. It's for managing proxying software. Vapalizer, it is pretty good when you're like on the live target to know which technology stacks they're using. Sometimes you need to browse into different pages of the website, and on a different like /something, it could like show even different technologies. So keep that in mind when using Vapalizer. There are others like BuiltWith, but Vapalizer is the best, I think. This is multi-account containers. I do use for different profiles from time to time, usually when testing IDORs, but as well like I use it with XSS because sometimes I might want to use different accounts for blind XSS, like have different browser containers. So this is that. Also cookie editor, from time to time I do put some payloads in cookies or try to edit them, or if I get blind XSS, sometimes I just import the cookies of the report and try to log into admin account. That also could be a lot of cases actually with cookie editor. Link Gopher, it's pretty good when you're like doing some Google dorking and like scrolling down to the bottom to the page, and I will just press extract all links. So together with Fox Crawler, it's just if you click, it will scroll down. So I just click this and the browser will keep scrolling to the bottom and the Google will refresh new pages. Like it will scroll down to the end, and then I just use link offer just for the case if I want to get URLs. I already have some blogs about that if you want to check. And there is user agent editor. So sometimes on some websites, if you for example changed user agent to mobile device, you will get even different view of the website, not only view but sometimes even endpoints. So in some cases this is pretty good as well. Open multiple URLs. Sometimes when I work with like link gopher, so I just copy all the URLs and put to the open URLs tools, and it will basically open a lot of tabs. Or sometimes if I get results from other command line tools, I sometimes also put those, but usually up to like 30 or 50, even like 50 the max, usually 30 results, I will just open those URLs. And instead of like doing screenshots with some other tools, I will just go one by one and like close pretty quickly. This is just for blocking some commercials if there are some pop-ups and I don't know the website, but sometimes I do turn it off. This is .git extension. Actually, I heard some people got some bounties by just using that. I got some pingbacks by this program, but I wasn't able to find anything sensitive. But on some root directories, or even there could be like directory afterwards, there could be .git on those as well. So people usually just check on like root URL with some tools, but having like running this in background, it's actually pretty good. And this is another like bulk URL open. So I don't know why those two are here, but yeah, I guess one of those are just left afterwards. This is like for gathering emails. I used this for the engagement when I was pen testing, and this one is the clipboard extension. So just in case if I need some payloads just from the browser, but I don't want to show that right now. All right, cool. So we will be ready to start soon. Just let me know in the chat if you have something what you also want to know from me as well. But mainly right now we will be checking this blog. Like previously we covered those 3 articles, like those 3 posts, but we're gonna continue with like starting with XSS. These are really good series about client-side vulnerabilities. Hopefully we're gonna finish XSS part really quickly, and we're gonna probably learn about those type of, which is below the iceberg type of things. All right. That's cool. So let's get ready and let's continue on the XSS as well. So yeah, understanding the XSS a bit more. In the previous post, it was mentioned that attackers need to adjust the XSS payload to ensure effectiveness in different scenarios. For the example, if injection point was in the inner HTML, using script alert will have not any effect. Therefore, we need to understand XSS a bit more to know what methods could be used for the attacks. Yeah, so I guess on one stream I already explained there will be different HTML contexts, and different context will probably require a different set of payloads. So you can check my GitHub. On GitHub I made a couple of labs just to understand where your like payload could end up. This is mainly just in client side mostly, but still like you have to check those labs. If I could really quickly show you, this is XSS context labs. So there is the setup on readme file. You can like install your own server. Sorry for not using Docker, but yeah, you can like just with a few commands, basically this command, and just use git clone on var www.html, and you will be ready to go mostly. Those are not really necessary for the most part, but unless if you get some errors, yeah, you can also do those, but usually just 3 commands and that will be it. So yeah, you can set up your own labs just to like play around with XSS context, or you can watch my previous streams as well. So yeah, learning about attacks is learning about defense. We must know how to attack in order how to defend effectively, or vice versa. Like if you understand how developers are defending against you, you will know how to bypass them. So I was actually also showing that on the previous streams, like how you can set up the lab with firewall, and on the firewall side how you can defend it, and as attacker how to bypass those defenses. I might use some like automatic web application firewall, but those usually do require like purchasing them. So we will see, like maybe in the future for sure, for other attack types, not only for XSS. Okay, ways to execute a JavaScript. Once you have control over HTML, there are several ways to execute JavaScript. The most common way is using script tag. However, one of the drawbacks that it easily could be identified by web application firewall. Another drawback is that it does not work in the context of inner HTML, as mentioned in the previous post. Apart from script, we can also use other tags combined with inline handlers to execute code. So this is like the second payload we all know. This loads non-existent image and uses on error event to execute code. In fact, many people, including myself, use X as the source because it's not easy to write and remember. Well, actually, you don't need to use that one. You can use without equal sign and it's still gonna work. And even those are not really necessary. So like the end could look like this: image source on error equals alert1. This will work as well, like not even alert1, like without anything. So this will require way less characters and still gonna work for sure. Okay. Usually the path X does not exist, but if it does on error, will not be triggered. So not having equal sign will also give you an error. So like you don't even need to write equal X. Therefore, it's a joke that you can place image named X in the root directory of the website and some attackers may not discover the XSS vulnerability. Alright, that's a good joke. Nerd joke, but still pretty good. Okay, apart from on error, any event handler can be exploited. For example, like this on click, alert1, click me please, like if you have the button. This will require user interaction, so you should try avoid for those, because those will decrease the impact, like final impact, so you will get lesser award for that. It's better than you don't actually need to have a lot of interaction, so keep that in mind. Clicking the button will trigger an alert. However, the difference with this method is that the user has to take an action to trigger XSS, such as clicking the button. In previous example with image tag, the user does not need to do anything and XSS will be triggered. For shorter payload, you can use onload event of SVG. Yeah, this is like even shorter than this one, but also like double quotes could be not used, like one is also not necessary, so it could be even 3 characters longer, shorter, sorry. Okay, there's a little extra knowledge in HTML. Double quotes for attributes, it's not necessary. Exactly. I was going way too quicker actually than the post, so I will try read first and maybe comment less. If your content does not have spaces, you can remove them without any problem. Even with spaces between tags and attributes could replaced with this slash. And therefore, the payload for SVG can be written like this. Yeah, you can sometimes some firewall rules could like describe the spaces, so this is one of the bypasses could be used. No spaces or quotation marks are needed to construct an XSS payload. Yeah, commonly exploited event handlers include, but there are way more if you already know the Portswigger's cheat sheet. Apart from these event handlers, starting with on, there is another way to execute code that front-end developers may have seen, like having a tag and having href with JavaScript scheme and void 0. All right, and this is used to make element unresponsive when clicked. Then this example will see that we can use href to execute code like this. All right. To summarize, there are several ways to execute JavaScript in HTML: the script tag, event handlers, and JavaScript pseudo protocol. Knowing these methods, you can use them in different scenarios. If you want to learn more about more payloads, you can refer cross-site scripting cheat sheet. Yeah, this is the one that you should be interested in. This is like pretty good cheat sheet. Of course, this is not all of the potential ways how you can do that, because like JavaScript, XSS things are really big topic. So this is not all of those, but this is really good start. So this is basically like your payload builder, but still sometimes you're gonna need to do even more, like mixing characters, escaping some things. So it's actually on the situation. All right, XSS in different scenarios and defense mechanisms. Usually, the places where payloads could be injected are referred as the injection points in the following code snippet. Okay. Yeah, I guess this will be injected from the script of the URL and will be injected right here. The injection point in the line document query selector name, like inner HTML equals name. Different injection points affect how attacks can be carried out and how to defend against them. Let's categorize 3 different scenarios. HTML injection. This is the most common scenario whenever it's the example above or PHP code snippet below. Yeah, this is like how PHP actually concatenates strings using the dots. Other languages might use plus symbols, and the get will basically just get the parameter from the URL, which is called name. These two cases both involve manipulating a blank HTML provided to you, so you can directly write to any desired elements, which will provide a lot of freedom. For example, using commonly seen payload, image source not exist on error alert can execute the JavaScript. The defense method to replace all occurrences of these symbols in the user input. By doing so, they won't be able to insert new HTML tags and won't be able to do anything. Well, this is really naive defense, but for some like quote-unquote hackers, it might like prevent some hackers for sure. Okay, let me quickly check the chat. Alright, I came across the scenario where I can inject HTML in reset password request and also in the registering new accounts, which sends HTML injected email to users. How to increase impact? That usually the email content itself is meant to like get HTML injection. So if you noticed, you can actually send emails like Google Mails. If you are using Gmail, for example, you can send emails with some HTML code already. So if you get the injected code, it means that it's being saved as it is somewhere. But if you actually want to increase the impact, you need to find that on the website, on the target website. Or you can also trying blind XSS payloads, try to bypass the upgrade HTML injection into the normal XSS, like blind XSS payload. So create username with blind XSS payload, and then try to do certain actions which will trigger some employees from their side, either do something malicious, send a lot of requests, chat with support team, and then we will gonna review your profile probably. And if we review that from the other system, probably from admin system, CRM, something like that, it could fire as well, and in this case it could result to critical even. So, or maybe there are certain page on the website itself where your username will be reflected as like normally. So those are like two potential scenarios that you can do. All right. Attribute injection. Sometimes you might encounter like the following. There the input content is used as value of attribute enclosed within the attribute. Okay. Okay. This is, they are actually creating the attribute. In this case, using aforementioned like this payload won't work because the input value is treated as content of the attribute. To execute XSS in this scenario, you can escape the attribute and close the tag like this. Yeah, so then you do actually need to escape it and then like inject. So this is like pretty basic bypass. Okay, this way the entire HTML will become like this. After escaping the attribute, you can insert the desired HTML tags. From this case, you can see I mentioned that the context is important. If you think that XSS only occurs in the first scenario I mentioned and only handle those characters, it will be ineffective in this context because the attacker can attack without using new tags. For example, like you cannot, like this is another payload that you can do. For example, using this payload, which doesn't contain those two characters at all, the HTML will become like this. Like it will happen inside the tag itself. So yeah, this is like the payload. So it will happen right here. There your payload will become, instead of like creating new image tag like here. So this is all about the context where your XSS payload will appear. Unlike adding new HTML tags, this attack method utilizes onFocus event of original div tag to execute XSS. Therefore, when filtering, in addition to this, also those characters, single quote and double quote, also need to be encoded. But not only those. You can play way too much, like filtering a lot of characters, but still, like there will be even other ways to bypass this. All right. Additionally, this is why you should avoid writing code like this. Well, yeah, I guess this article is more made for developers than for attackers, but still, it's also interesting, I guess. The above attribute is not enclosed by double quotes or single quote. So even if we think that we have protected it by encoding those, the attacker can still add other attributes using spaces. Exactly. In addition to HTML, like JavaScript injection, sometimes the user could input reflected JavaScript. For example, this and alert name. All right. If you look at the code snippet, you might think that encoding double quotes is enough because it prevents breaking out of the string. However, this approach is problematic because the attacker can close the tag with script and then eject other tags and so on. So in this context, just like before, you need to encode those to prevent the attacker from escaping the string. However, even with this, you still need to be aware that if you add an empty line in the input, the entire code snippet will fail and execute due to the line break, resulting in syntax error. Okay, what if it's a situation like this? So it's using the script tags, like setting up the certain name, like saying hello and alerting the name. In this case, you can inject the JavaScript code using this using alert. So you don't actually need to use double quote, single quote, and as well those characters. You can still achieve XSS with this. Although the front-end engineers know that this can cause issues just by looking at it, not every engineer may be aware of it for sure. Perhaps this code was written by the backend engineer who simply thought if multi-line string is needed, use this symbol without realizing its meaning and potential dangers. Alright, so that was basically the contents of this article. So this was, I guess, it was a little bit repeating what we already knew before, but still, like the main takeaway, it is even if you are like blocking certain characters, it doesn't mean that still it's gonna not be possible to bypass it. So in this article, we learned more about XSS, understood the different ways the JavaScript can be executed, and realized that the necessary defenses vary depending on the context. However, does encoding like these characters guarantee complete security? That's not necessarily the case, as we saw with this payload. There is a commonly overlooked situation then that was briefly mentioned in this article but not discussed in detail. We will cover in the next article. Before moving on to the next article, let's have brainstorming session. I mentioned earlier that there are basically 3 ways to execute JavaScript: the script tag, event handlers, JavaScript pseudo protocol. In the first method, like in inner URL equals script, does not work. If event handlers JavaScript pseudo protocol cannot be used and the injection point is inner equals data, what other ways could be used to execute scripts? Take a moment, think about it. Okay, I guess we're gonna learn it on the go. All right. Let me check the messages. Speaking about the injection, I ended up my life a few minutes ago. Again. All right. Okay, are you guys interested exploring more? We're gonna check even more. Okay, so the protocol, actually JavaScript. This is pretty interesting. All right, in previous post, the various XSS scenarios and ways to execute code were mentioned, including something called JavaScript, like this, pseudo protocol. Even from the modern front-end perspective, this is something what developers need to be particularly aware of. Therefore, it's worth writing a dedicated post to discuss it in detail. All right, on this post, he briefly covered it, but right now he wants to dive even deeper into it. All right. Before we begin, let's answer brainstorming question from previous post. All right. In the injection point of inner HTML, script tags are not executed. However, they can be used in conjunction with iframes. All right. The source doc attribute of iframe can contain complete HTML, creating a whole new web page. So the script tag, what was previously useless, now can be used here. Additionally, since this is an attribute, the context can be encoded beforehand, meaning the result is the same. All right. Okay, this is pretty interesting payload to use for sure, because it will create iframe with payload, encoded payload inside. This is like encoded HTML. All right. I think even this one should be encoded, but all right, that's cool still. Therefore, even if the injection point is inner HTML, iframe source doc along with script tag can be used to execute code. Now let's move to the main topic of this post, the JavaScript pseudo protocol. All right. That's cool. What is the JavaScript, the pseudo protocol? In the word pseudo refers to pseudo code. This is like virtual code compared to real protocols like HTTP, HTTPS, or FTP. The pseudo protocol is more like special protocol unrelated to the network. Example of pseudo protocols include mail to, telephone, and things like that. The reason why JavaScript pseudo protocol is special that it could be used to execute the JavaScript code. So yeah, actually what he meant by real protocols, like what does protocol actually means, it's just the way to tell how like different interfaces could communicate, like server with a client, like HTTP, stuff like that. So like mail to is like happening inside the browser, not like between like browser and other like network like interface. So that's why it's called pseudo protocol. Okay. Where can the JavaScript pseudo protocol be used? The first place is href attribute mentioned in the previous post. So this is a equals href, and it could happen inside the href. So this does require the user interaction. Simply clicking on this link triggers an XSS attack. The second place in source attribute in the iframe. All right. Unlike a example, this does not require user interaction because yeah, iframes as well as like SVGs have some onload. Yeah, actually on SVG you need to specify like onload event handler, but on iframe you don't actually need that. So you can just use this. Lastly, the action attribute of the form can also contain the same string. The form action attribute of button is also similar, but both of these like a require click to trigger. Okay, so you can use action on form. This is like also another payload, but it does require some interaction. All right. Why it is dangerous? It is often overlooked and frequently used in practical applications. For example, if a website has a feature that allows users to input YouTube video URL and automatically embed it in the article, and the developer of this feature lacks of security awareness, they might write like this. All right, so this is the place where your payload might end up, not necessarily in the same request. Sometimes it could be used from the like other location where you actually injected the payload. So like instead of using HTTP, YouTube, blah blah blah, you can use this. If I input JavaScript alert as the YouTube URL, it becomes an XSS vulnerability. If a check is added to verify the URL contains YouTube, it can be bypassed using this and like adding this console log youtube.com. The correct approach is to check if URL is the format of YouTube video and ensure that URL starts with the HTTPS. Yeah, this is really important check to like prevent when a website is checking for links. They have to check if those links will begin with HTTPS. So yeah, but that's like not every time the case. So you have some chance to like inject this. If you think that the above feature is not very common, try inputting your blog or Facebook URL on the profile page and adding a hyperlink to the page. It becomes more common, right? This is an easily overlooked area. I myself discovered this vulnerability on How online course platform in Taiwan. Okay, what is he telling us? On the profile page and adding hyperlink to that page. Okay. Okay, what he actually meant by this? I need some examples. Okay, if the backend implementation is written as a code, it may look something like, okay, this is better. Echo special chars data. Even though if those are encoded, preventing the addition of tags and escaping double quotes and attributes, attacker could still inject JavaScript alert because there are no illegal characters in it. Furthermore, the modern front-end frameworks usually handle escaping automatically. If you are not using dangerous set inner HTML in React or VHTML code in Vue, those are, I guess, meant for developers. Unless you got some front-end code with source maps and you see this method being used, take a look at it. I might show like might create some videos how you can obfuscate the front-end code. For example, if the application uses React, that does not necessarily mean that it's safe from XSS if they're using this function. But in order to see that they're using this function at the front end, you need to defuscate it. And there are a couple of techniques for that. Right now it's out of the scope for this, but I might create video because it's extremely interesting and not a lot of people are talking about this. Alright, however, href is different for the reasons mentioned above. Its content, it's not sanitized. Therefore, if you write like this React, will cause some issues. So yeah, this is just React code. And yeah, so right here is simplified, but it's saving basically to directly to this. This is an XSS vulnerability. There, executing code is just a click away. All right. However, React introduced the warning for this behavior in this version, which is actually documented here. The warning measures it. Usually developers just ignore warnings and submit the code anyways. But yeah. This is also more discussion on React's GitHub issues. Yeah, but developers still gonna ignore those. On the other hand, in Vue you can write like this, so it's just showing on the modern frameworks how they're like doing mistakes. This is also successfully to execute JavaScript. This attack method is mentioned in Vue's documentation called URL injection. It is recommended that developers handle URL validation and processing on the backend rather than waiting until the frontend. Yeah, actually, still, even though if something is happening on the front end, it's being sanitized, but still, like, sometimes your whole payload will be saved in the database, and there might be other systems where they're not using some modern frameworks. There may be a little bit legacy ones, and your data could be reflected there. So yeah, that could be an issue, even though they're using at some locations they might be using some like pretty safe frameworks, but still, as you can see, even though this is React or Vue.js, still the mistake's gonna happen. All right, page redirection also carries risks. Many websites implement redirect after login feature, which redirects users to originally intended page before logging in, like this. Yeah, so when you see like open redirects, the first thing what you should try next, instead of like using malicious website, you can try also using JavaScript alerts. This is the vulnerable code. So what's the problem with this code? The problem is the value of window.location. So if you put your payload like this, it will execute the JavaScript pseudo protocol. After executing code above, you will be familiar with the alert window. This is something front-end engineers need to be aware of. As it mentioned earlier, redirecting is common functionality, and then implementing it you can be cautious about issue, avoid problematic code, blah blah blah. I actually discovered this vulnerability on another website called Matter News. This is their login page, and yeah, this is extremely common after doing certain actions to see like redirect URL. Most commonly, those are after logins, after registrations, after updating certain information, like personal information, or if you're navigating between different parts of the website, like different services. Those could be present in those cases. So always look into redirect URL pages for sure. Okay, I actually discovered this vulnerability. Okay, after clicking confirm button, the function called redirect target is called, and this is the code basically. So it will look like target equals, and it will contain the URL actually. And firstly you will find open redirect, but you can use the JavaScript pseudo protocol. After obtaining the target, it directly uses this for the redirection. Get target simply tries value to target query string. So if login URL is matter news login target equals JavaScript alert, when user clicks login and it's successful, the alert will pop up triggering XSS. Okay. Moreover, once this XSS is triggered, its impact is significant because it occurs on the login page. Therefore, the XSS executed on this page can directly capture the input values, which means stealing user's username and password. Alright. To carry out an actual attack, the phishing emails could be sent to website users, including the malicious link on them to click, blah blah blah, since the URL appears normal and the resulting page is also genuine website page. The credibility should be quite high. This is not critical because it does require user interaction, but still it could be pretty serious vulnerability if you find something like that. But just not like show alert when like creating final report. You actually, instead of like alert right here, you should construct either use fetch or even import, and use some, could you try using external code like hosted like blind XSS server or something like that. So this way you can capture the cookies and like other stuff. Basically you need to work on like little bit more to like increase the impact. There are a lot of ways how you can do, but like leaving this alert, you will just get medium at max. But if you improve a little bit, like to show even more, you will get way better result. All right. By stealing username and password through XSS after the user enters them and logs in, redirecting the user back to homepage without leaving any traces, the user's account can be compromised, achieving the account takeover. But still, even though if it's account takeover, it is not the critical because of the interaction. In short, I believe everyone familiar with the basic concept of XSS. However, you may not be familiar with the attack surface of JavaScript pseudo protocol. Well, most of the hunters actually familiar with this one, but maybe not all the developers for sure. But a lot of like medium skilled hunters already know about this. Therefore, I would like to specially address this issue so that you could be more cautious and take appropriate defense measures when encountering such attributes. Alright. Firstly, if you have libraries like sanitize URL, so alright, those are just defense methods. I guess for us, for hunters, that's not really interesting, so we can skip a lot of those. Alright. This is pretty interesting one because it happened in the Telegram, so practical case. Let's take a look at vulnerability discovered in the Telegram web version not long ago, actually, like more than 1 year ago, but still not so long ago. It was related to this actual JavaScript pseudo protocol that's mentioned in this article. It's in Russian, but still. In Telegram web, the Telegram has more than one web version actually. There is a function called ensure protocol, what is responsible for checking if URL has this. If it doesn't, it will automatically just add this. So it's not actually checking if it starts like this, but it's only checking this. So it's straight away pretty bad validation. Okay, this was the actual function, ensure protocol. It is easy to bypass this check by using something like JavaScript alert. Yeah, it will basically just add, I think right here, so it's pretty bad. However, the issue what server also checks if the URL is valid address in the previous string clearly isn't. So yeah, there is also another check on the backend. The URLs can include the username and password at the beginning used for HTTP authentication by passing the colon like this, Okay. Therefore, the launcher discovered that the using string can be used to bypass the check. Okay. So, okay. In this case, JavaScript is the username and alert is password. Oh, right. That's pretty smart. Bypass. Okay, and the host name is GitHub. Although it doesn't start with those, the server still considers it as valid because of the lame checks. Finally, by combining URL encoding, the URL is generated with password that only contains valid characters. Okay. Okay, he's using some kind of external URL. So after decoding the JavaScript, he will like submit this. This will look for that validation as this is the like username and this is the password. Add GitHub and alerts. Okay, the server recognizes above string as a link and the client bypass this check. Then user clicks on the link and XSS is triggered. The Telegram later fixed this issue by implementing the method I mentioned earlier, which checks the URL and ensures the protocol is not JavaScript. All right, this is the fixed version. Okay. In this article, we've seen the dangerous aspects of JavaScript pseudo protocol. It can be placed in href on the attack, which is the common use case. Additionally, developers often forget about potential risks or may not be aware of them, leading to vulnerabilities. Although in most cases, hyperlinks open in new tabs, preventing the execution of JavaScript code, there is no guarantee that this behavior is consistent everywhere, then the target attribute is not specified, or when using older browsers or alternative methods open new tabs, it poses risk to users. Furthermore, when performing redirects, it's important to consider the issues related to JavaScript pseudo protocol. Without proper prevention, it could lead to XSS. For developers, lastly, I leave small question for everyone. What is the problem with following code? It doesn't necessarily have to be XSS vulnerability. Any security related issue counts. Okay. All right. Yeah, it will check if this will start right here from the user input, but that won't be necessarily the case because you can still bypass using the iframe, because iframe inside the iframe you can use some tricks as we've seen before. But yeah, you can check it yourself if you want, but this will be pretty easy to bypass, I gotta say. So for the homework for you, you can try checking those for sure. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be mostly it for today. I guess the 2 articles we already covered, those were like even little bit more, but we already know. I guess the last one about some use cases, how where you actually want to try these payloads, like with JavaScript pseudo stuff. And other takeaway is, even if you see like using Vapalizer, for example, even if you see it uses Vue.js, React, it doesn't mean that it won't be mostly like preventing your like XSS attacks, because developers do make mistakes. Even though, like, if there is a method name in the code called like how it's dangerous, yeah, dangerously set inner HTML, like even in the name itself it said dangerously, developers still gonna use it. Like, I seen a lot of things like this in the real world application, so I know I'm pretty confident that they gonna leave this. And when they leave this, it is our chance to spot vulnerabilities for sure. So yeah, I guess for the next stream, defense and bypass, this will be more interesting. But I guess at the beginning for the stream, I will also try to set up some lab, just in case if I find something interesting right here on some of those articles. I will like try to reproduce that in my lab, either by like using firewall. I will use Cloudflare because I'm mostly familiar with that. I know it's like not the top tier web application firewall, but I know how to set up the rules on that. So yeah, I guess gonna try that. And yeah, I gotta say it was really my pleasure checking these articles with you. Hopefully it was interesting, and until you next time, see ya.